Good morning, YouTube. All right, I've been updating the channel, trying to bring back all the old videos that I had removed, and it looks like I'm making occasional mistakes here and there, and actually publishing videos that were not intended for publication, either clips, that I thought were bad, or didn't ever publish for some reason. I've been collecting them for some, or personal videos. So if you see those videos and they suddenly disappear, that's what's going on. I am in process of trying to bring the channel back, because for a while we had actually removed everything. Shit. We had removed everything from the channel, and had been in process of removing the channel completely off YouTube. But I decided to bring it back, and for now at least I am going to go ahead and try to restore the channel, but not the way it was, where everything was just in sequence and there was literally thousands of videos in the playlist. What I want to do is actually start organizing it so that it's easier to find information. So you're going to see all sorts of playlists on this channel, from the build out of Little Blue to power systems. Basically, I want to organize it so the channel's more useful. The original intent of this channel was to help people who basically had to move into a van and had to rig something really fast, like in 1, 2, or 3 days. So I'll be restoring those playlists and trying to get it so people can see them. Because I suspect, with the way things are right now, that information is kind of important. A lot of people are about to lose their homes. The thought of living in a vehicle is becoming a reality for literally tens of millions of people. So we're talking about America. I don't know how it is elsewhere in the world, but American situation is not looking good. With all the pending foreclosures and evictions and everything else happening. It's a bad situation. So I had removed those videos because they weren't really getting views. They were kind of insignificant in the sense that, they weren't popular videos, but because most people weren't looking at becoming homeless and living in a van. But now it's become like a reality, and a lot of people may be totally lost. I did a video the other day, yesterday, on power packs, and I could see that people do know this information because of the fact that all the RV batteries were missing from the Walmart. So people are taking preparation seriously at this point. It's not, used to be, if you were a prepper or an off-gridder, a survivalist, you were on the fringe. You were like on the outer edge of society. You were one of those people who the rest of the world, the rest of civilization looked at you and thought you were on the nuttier side, because you felt that things weren't as good as they made it seem like, that at any moment something could come along and toilet paper would be in high demand. You were one of the people who saw a potential problem before it became a problem for the rest of the world. So, you were one of those people who started prepping food, prepping supplies, learning about power systems, learning alternate ways of doing things, how to sterilize water, all these things that normally you wouldn't have to deal with in modern society. But suddenly, due to coronavirus and political upheaval and everything else that's going on right now, those skills are now actually not something that's far off, not something that the fringe. It's becoming a common, I guess, a common citizen concern in the sense that people who used to not think that they might be homeless, or not think that they would ever live in a vehicle, or not think that they might not have electricity at their house or to live off, it's become something that's real. So I'm bringing those videos back, but they're all like scattered right now. Like I just noticed, I was telling people to look at my old videos where I show how to build the battery pack. Well, it turns out that some of the build videos had been removed. So I've tried to bring them all back, but I don't know if they're all back. What I'm doing right now is just going through the video upload list, and literally there are thousands of videos, and trying to bring them all back online. So forgive me if videos appear and suddenly disappear. Those videos were never intended for publication. And if you see my sets videos, make sure you contact me right away, because those are definitely not intended for publication. So make sure you contact me if you see those. So anyhow, I will be organizing them in the playlist, and hopefully that'll be more useful. I hope everybody's doing well this morning. It is a wonderful morning. I am heading out to pick up my daughter. We're going to celebrate her graduation. So it's going to be a daddy-daughter day. Should be fun, just me and my daughter. And I can devote my full day to her, which is good. You know, I do believe that it's important, if you're a parent, that you get to spend time, especially if you have more than one child, that you get to sometimes spend time with just one child, so that, you know, they have your full attention, and they can have your full, I guess, undivided attention, and basically just be special that day, you know, because if you have siblings, if you have kids, multiple kids, and you always get them together, I don't think it's fair to either one of them, you know, because the attention is divided. So occasionally it's nice to just take one kid, you know, and let that kid know how special they are. So that's what I'm going to be doing with my daughter today, is just hanging out with her. We're probably going to go eat somewhere, eat brunch, and just enjoy the day. At least that's the hope. As far as me personally and my situation, I had originally planned on moving to Thailand by January, potentially. But it looks like that might be planning a little too soon. The coronavirus, or the pandemic, is actually stabilizing in Asia, especially specifically in Thailand. But the United States is still a hot spot, especially Florida. That's kind of a problem for me. So, you know, this whole thing makes it so hard to plan anything. But what I'm thinking of doing now is delaying my trip and taking the time to close out things on this end. Because I think leaving without things, or trying to plan to leave without things being fully closed out, leaves too many possibilities of failure. So I'm going to try to do one step at a time and make sure the situation here in America is kind of under control, like totally, you know, stabilized before leaving, instead of just saying, you know what, I'm going to leave and deal with it later, or not even deal with it. Yeah, I don't know how many of you feel like that. Sometimes you feel a little bit overwhelmed, and you know, you end up saying, well, I think I'm just going to do this. Now, the good thing about still being alive, you know, despite any bad stuff that's going on in your life, is that if you see that things aren't going the way you're hoping or whatever, it's never too late to just stop, reassess, and change directions. So I'm not really changing direction right now, but I'm actually contemplating a change to the plan. So my original plan was to head out during the pandemic and just head to Thailand and just say, screw all this. I just want some normalcy in my life. And move over to Thailand and, you know, go ahead and start up a new homestead, which may be the ultimate plan, but I need to cut in the front of my hair or something. But the ultimate plan may be that. But I think what I might do, because there's still unfinished business in the United States, you know, what I want to do with my wife is actually tour the United States. Pretty much all of the United States. Well, except for Alaska. I don't think I want to drive up to Alaska. I think trying to drive to Alaska, it's like on a lot of people's bucket lists, but for me, it's not really realistic or practical, and it may be highly dangerous. So I'm really not planning on driving to Alaska. I might have to skip Hawaii, because driving there is like impossible, and flying is super expensive. Although I have been in Hawaii, not there to visit, but on a stopover when flying from Thailand to the United States. Did that when I was a kid. But I want to hit like almost every single state if I can, or at least major landmarks. Ideally, I would like to make it all the way up to New York again. I've been in New York, but have never ever gone up to the Statue of Liberty. So before leaving the country, I think I'd like to see stuff like in person, like the Statue of Liberty, just to. I guess for me, it would have been for me before. It would have been something to be really proud of, in the sense that the statue was given to us by the French as a partnership or as a friendship, like a brother or a sister country, to show the light, of freedom and hope, and basically standing up against tyranny and making a country for the people that would actually invite other people to come here to seek freedom, to seek hope, to seek a dream. I guess that's how the American dream was born, was through people coming to this country wanting to make their life better. And I don't know if the United States is ever going to get like that again. I think our first big hit was 9/11. That certainly shook up the United States, all the Americans, but not just the Americans, but the world. We were no longer invincible. And not only are we invincible, since that time, I think the world and a lot of Americans are looking at it and say, not only are we invincible, in some ways, as some people were saying, we're almost like third world. Like the behavior of the nation as a whole, how the people are responding, how the government is acting, it's not first rate, it's third rate. And that's not saying I hate America. I think America is still one of the best countries out there, and you still have opportunities in this country that you wouldn't have in other countries. And for the most part, I think the people here are some of the kindest people in the world. But now I have to say not all, because I've seen some ugliness and nastiness that even with friends on Facebook, I'm like, what the? I never knew that was in your heart. I never knew you actually are bigoted or racist or whatever. Now, and it's not just like one person, okay? That's what's really scaring me. I'm like, what the? If any of you are on like social media, I don't know if the people have been brainwashed or if it was always like that in their heart, that they have a hidden agenda or a hidden hatred or whatever. And they just feel now that in the current political environment, that it's okay to express that. And then I have to debate if I really want to keep them as a friend, because I'm like, I didn't know your heart was like that, or are you just sharing this because you've been, I guess, sheepified, you've been herdified, you've been brainwashed, so that stuff comes up, you automatically hit share without even thinking about what it really means or the impact of what it would do to somebody who had considered themselves your friend. Because it's messages of hate, messages of intolerance, messages of just sadness for me. So, that's the state of the country right now from my personal view. And I know some people right now think everything is great right now in America, that things are perfect. This is the way it should be. So it has to do with perspective, and some of these people are loving it. They love the fact that people are racially charged, that it's like, I know some people get mad at me because I try to be objective about it, but I see a lot of people starting up stuff instigating things. They're escalating things that shouldn't be. Like, I don't know. When I say these kind of things, people get very angry. They get angry at me for speaking my mind, for telling them what I see as the truth. And maybe I'll go ahead and do it, because this channel's never been politically correct. And I do think it needs to be said that I think it's BS that people are using the current environment to basically do bad stuff that I think are really highly un-American. Or maybe they've been American all along, just covered and hidden. And that's what makes me sad. It makes me consider, wanting to just leave. Because I can't really change these people. I can't change their attitudes. They have to change it themselves, or want to change it. They have to, be wanting to change. But I don't know if social media has brainwashed them. So they don't even, it's like people that I think should know better are acting like they don't have a clue. And they're just behaving in ways that to me are shocking and sad. And what I mean is like this, like I'm going to give you some case. I just saw on my social media feed on Facebook something that I thought was kind of messed up. It was like a double messed up, and I don't know what the outcome was, because the guy who stole the video, if you want to call it that, some people make money on the hatred and stuff going on right now. Like companies will take clips of the videos and then interject themselves, or individuals, not necessarily companies, they'll interject themselves talking over the video that was controversial and went viral. And that video tends to do very well. People like evil, bad stuff. They like to see bad things. And I know that from being on social media, being on YouTube. I know if I were to post a headline that said something, really bad, or had a really bad picture, I would get a lot of views. A lot of my videos don't have a lot of views because they're kind of almost personal videos that, people just follow. I don't want to put up bad things, but I might have to start doing that if I really want to go commercialize on YouTube. Not bad things, but controversial, or things that aren't necessarily true, but they make people click on them. And that's what the whole thing that seems to be driving people nowadays is, let's see how many views we can get. Let's see how many clicks we can get so we can monetize it and make money. Even though it might be bad, it might not be true, it might be partially true, it might be a lie, it might cause friendships to dissolve, it might cause people to hate each other. It doesn't have to be true, it just needs to be clickable. So you put the stuff up and people click on it, because people click on bad shit. It's a sad world. Okay? They prefer bad stuff, or exceptionally good stuff that are unrealistic. But let's get back to the topic here, guys. I easily get distracted, so I'm always rambling. But I saw a video that apparently had a African American dude who apparently, according to the guy that ripped off the video, that was hosting it, for his viewers and talking about it. He was on YouTube. I saw it on YouTube. And it monetized, so he's making money on this other guy. So the way it works is the dude, okay, the African American dude, black dude, okay, African American, if we're being politically correct, he was walking around a neighborhood, which I guess was predominant. And he said it himself, he's like an overweight, dude, black guy, wearing a red t-shirt or something, and jeans, walking around kind of an exclusive neighborhood. Not really exclusive, but a mostly white neighborhood. And I think you guys already know what the premise is and what's going to happen next. So this Caucasian woman sees him there. Just, he's going up to houses and knocking on the doors, and turning around if nobody's answering, and then going to the next house or whatever. I guess that's what he's doing. So she sees him and she confronts him. What are you doing here? Because he's a pudgy black dude walking around in their neighborhood. And he says, I don't have to answer to you. Who are you? I don't have to answer anything to you. Well, then you know what ensues. She starts to call the police. He's like, go ahead and call them. Here's my... And she's calling the police. Now, she doesn't say, there's a pudgy black dude walking around knocking on people's doors. No, she says, there's a big scary black guy that's scaring me and threatening me and charging at me and doing crazy stuff. That's how things are going right now in this country. Okay? And of course, he's like saying, how dare you? You go ahead and call them, because you're going to end up looking like a Karen. What is your name, Karen something? And you can hear them getting into it on their argument. Meanwhile, she's like calling the police, and the police are asking for information, of course, as they do. And if she just told them the truth, which is she was walking down the street, saw a black dude, go up to the doors, knocking on them, and leaving when nobody was answering, the police would probably say, is that any of your business? What's he doing that's wrong? Okay? No, she says the guy is trying to start stuff up with her, and he's harassing her, and she's trying to get away from him, and he's like stalking, coming at her, being aggressive. He's being aggressive. And of course, the cops are going to come out with guns drawn and everything, and there's a potential that because he's a black dude, who's big and burly or whatever, harassing this poor old white woman, not old, but older than me, and they could end up shooting the dude. Now, I don't know what happens at the end. The guy didn't show the entire clip, because he had his own little spiel on it. And he was talking about how this is how things are now in this country. And, I think he was siding with the black dude, which I think a lot of viewers watch it and side with the black guy. Okay? Which I can understand. Okay? I can really understand that why they would side with the black guy, because really, in truth, he wasn't doing anything wrong. Matter of fact, he was doing his job. He was a census taker. Okay? He was taking the census. And the white lady who saw him really wasn't doing anything wrong either. She lives in her neighborhood. She wants to protect her neighborhood from potentially bad people. And bad people do go around to houses and knock on them and scout the location to see, if anybody's there, to determine if they want to break in or if they come back later or whatever. So she's reporting it. But both of them did wrong in this instance, which is escalating it. And the fact that he got so many views, and all the people hated the white lady, okay? They hated the white lady, and of course start calling her Karen. I believe it could have been avoided. But see, then people are going to hate me for saying to do this. But I think the dude, the black dude, started it. And you're like, what do you mean? He didn't do anything wrong by knocking on the door. He was a census taker. Yeah, but I would assume, unless the government is morons, okay? Unless the government is a moron, that as a census taker, he was probably given a badge. I don't know. I haven't been a census taker. But if he wasn't given a badge or something that was official, okay, to show that he belonged there, then the government is a moron. Okay? But I would assume he had some kind of badge or something that showed that he was officially a census taker. And not only that, he would have had the census information either on his phone, or if they do it digitally, or a piece of paper, or whatever they use. They would have had something to show that he was official. And if the lady had come up and said, what are you doing here? He probably should have answered, I'm taking the census. Here's my badge. And that would have not escalated. Instead, his response is, who the hell are you? I don't have to answer to you. What are you, a Karen? And of course, once you start that, this scary black man is harassing me and approaching me, and I'm scared for my life. Come shoot him! I laugh at it, but I'm telling you, this is how 99% of the shit is starting in this country over retardos. And I think it's an insult for retarded or mentally slow people to have these other people called retarded. So maybe I'll stop doing that. That's politically incorrect and also an insult to people who are mentally handicapped. I think these people are beyond that. They are haters, they are instigators, and they are tearing this country apart. They literally are tearing the country apart. And what makes me so sad about it all is this. A lot of the people watching these videos, they don't take the time to analyze it like I do, saying, they were both at fault. The viral, but see, that's the kind of video that goes viral. The dude who lifted that video and made his commentary made a lot of money on it. It's getting millions of views. The original video may have gotten millions of views and maybe monetized. People are cashing in on it. Then there's a GoFundMe or whatever to help the poor black guy that got insulted. Basically, people are taking advantage of the situation, which is one of the reasons I want to leave. I cannot fix that. I cannot fix the behavior of people who are so self-centered that, but see, I could be wrong. Maybe the black dude did feel like, he shouldn't have to do that. But reality is, if you're a government employee, a civil servant, a civil worker or whatever, generally you have a badge, and you're supposed to show that badge. You represent the United States. You represent the government. So if I was in that, like when I was a mailman and the police approached me, they were gonna potentially arrest me. I was in my van in Jupiter and the police showed up. Their first thing was they had to do what they were required to do, which was announce they were the police. They can't just barge into my car because that's a good way to get killed. Well, not they're the police. If I had a gun, I could have killed them legally. They were trying to break in. So the police know that. So typically the police, when they're approaching your car at night, like you're sleeping somewhere, they won't, unless it's an asshole cop. I don't know. I've never really encountered any. Not unless I did encounter a couple, but that's a whole nother shebang. But basically, most cops, they're doing their job. They have their rounds that they got to hit, their patrol area. And they see something that's not normally there, like your van parked at night, okay? Now, a lot of cops are aware of homeless people or van dwellers. I kind of put them together because from the cops' perspective, all of us are homeless people that are living in a vehicle because most cities have ordinances that says that you cannot sleep in your vehicle. It's not so much even living in it, it's sleeping in it. They just don't want you parked all over their streets, okay? And especially with the high-end area like Jupiter, which is like, like I said, told you, the area is mostly gated communities. And where I was staying was actually a $60 million view, $40 or $60 million view. I was on the beach. Yeah, literally. I had, how you see those beautiful van life videos? I was literally at the Jupiter Inlet, parked on the beach, sleeping. The cops didn't catch me while I was on the beach sleeping, but some of the locals, those people who have those houses there, those multi-million, $10, $20 million homes, they didn't like the idea that some dude in a van could just go park on what they consider their beach, even though honestly it was a public beach, okay? And didn't allow overnight parking if you were fishing, but didn't allow overnight parking to sleep. Does that make any sense? But they don't want people there all camping out on their beach. So they called the police. Police didn't come up till later, but they were given the description of my vehicle. So then one day, I wasn't even there to sleep or anything. I actually pulled up to go to the bathroom because there's a public bathroom there. That's the reason for picking that spot. It had a bathroom that was open all night, and with nice clean running water. I could take a shower there near the beach. There was a shower right there, and there was beautiful water, and I only went there at night, and then I left in the morning at sunrise because I had to go to work as a mailman to deliver mail to those same rich people who were reporting me. Yeah. Idiots. You don't pay enough so that someone who's working even at the level of being a official U.S. post office carrier, I was what they call a CCA, a city carrier assistant, and the pay was okay, but really, if you have to pay child support or anything like that, It's not enough. And for an area like Jupiter where the cost of rent and stuff was so high, I couldn't even live there. So, they reported me to the police. The police had the description of my vehicle. I pulled in to go to the bathroom and came out, and there were 3 police cars surrounding me. And they were like, "Sir, have you been parking here and sleeping here at night?" Like, "Yeah, what's wrong? What's up?" And they're like, "Well, you can't do that. Okay? You cannot do that. And, we're going to have to trespass you and do all sorts of stuff." They were wanting to file the paperwork on me to trespass me. That way they can arrest me the next time. The first time they come, they can't really arrest you unless you attack them or something crazy. So they wanted to almost serve me, well, they were trying to serve me with a trespass notice from the police. Once you get that, you're in the system and they can arrest you and take your car and all sorts of crazy shit. So they were going to do all that, and I said to them, "Hey, you really don't want to do that." Well, first off, they found out that I was a vet, and then of course they all were ready to pull their guns out, because some vets actually lose it. A vet living in a van typically has issues. And what I mean by issues is they don't get along with people. And if you're a vet, then you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes the training and stuff, they do this, okay? And you can never ever get rid of it. You can never unsee or unlearn what you know when you were in the military, prior military, or currently in the military. Sometimes you cannot get rid of that. It's in there, and you have to live with it and deal with it every day and try to cope with it. So, the cops generally know that, and vets are, to cops, I think, for the most part, considered kind of potentially dangerous. I say potentially. So most cops may be former vets, former military police. So there's that caution when they hear that you're a vet, or when they realize you're a vet, they automatically, have their hand halfway on the trigger, because they're afraid that you can go off. And vets do go off, believe it or not, because veterans, or if you're a veteran, you're military, you're basically a trained killer, depending on the job. But even all the regular jobs, even if you're a bookkeeper or whatever in the military, they do train you, at least nowadays, in the Air Force at least. I don't know about other services. You're trained to shoot a machine gun, how to assemble, disassemble, and shoot that machine gun. You're trained to kill. And not only are you trained to kill, in the military, you're trained to react. You don't even think, okay? It's like, that's why PTSD and stuff like that is so dangerous, for veterans. A lot of people have PTSD from trauma, and, trauma that goes through their life, and it affects them forever, pretty much, or for a long time. I don't know if it can ever be resolved. But for veterans, it's even worse, because veterans are trained to react, not react for safety, but to react to kill, potentially, respond. So the police know that, they get a little nervous when they see a vet that's homeless, and they approach that vet, because they could end up going really, 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 really bad. So anyhow, they found out I was a vet, so they were already on alert. But then I told them, I says, "Hey, look, one, I'm only in this situation not by choice. I'm here because of what happened with my situation, with my divorce and everything else. And I'm here so that I can earn money to pay child support. And not only that, I'm your mailman. If you arrest me, or, one, if you arrest me, you're not going to get mail. Two, if you trespass me, you're going to get me fired. Then you're not going to get mail either, and my children are going to be hungry. They're not going to get child support." So the police decided not to trespass me. They just gave me a warning. But not only that, apparently there was a big push back then by the VA, the Veterans Administration, to try to protect homeless vets, because homeless vets were dropping. They were either killing people or committing suicide every day. And the administration back then decided they wanted to stop this, that too many of our vets were not being treated properly. When I say treated properly, have psychological issues that aren't being addressed when they come back. Sometimes this stuff takes years to manifest, because it's in there. It's never going to go away, but it may take a long time for it to come out. And when it comes out, it can be violent. It could be violent towards society, or it could be violent towards that individual himself, or maybe that family, individual's family or whatever. But it's a real thing. And the government recognized it and started these programs with the VA. VA was the one where it came from the top down. So they started informing the hospitals and stuff to open them up for homeless veterans. And when I say homeless veterans, I mean anyone who is homeless and normally would not have benefits or anything like that. You don't really get full benefits of the VA. You get that if you retire, okay? But what they were doing with people who had served and obviously had trauma or whatever, and that's how they ended up being homeless. They can't seem to fit in or get along and function because of stuff that was done to them. They started taking them in. So when I say taking them in, that means they started offering services to these vets who were normally let through the crack. So what the police did was refer me to the Veterans Administration. They referred me to the VA hospital. And that's why, if you've been following the channel, you started seeing me getting services through the VA. They're trying to help me. They're trying to help me, I guess, cope and recover. Because, all the stuff that I've been through. And a lot of it was based on military service. Okay? So, they've been trying to help me with that. They also, as part of it, and I'm like, I'm so grateful. I know a lot of people look at the VA, the Veterans Administration, and say they had bad services, and I had nothing really but good experiences with them, because honestly, I didn't even think I would ever get veteran services or anything like that. I didn't serve, for till retirement. I only served for my term. I didn't even finish my term. I ended up volunteering out because it was too much. My brain was fried. It was too much for me. But long story short, I thought that was the end of it. That my military service was, once you went in, you served, you were done with your duty, you're back to civilian life and back to normal. Because you didn't stay long enough, you don't qualify for any services. But it turns out that if you become homeless, regardless of how or why you became homeless, as a veteran, the VA was actually taking you back and trying to help you. But typically they want people who are really, really messed up, like drug addicts, because those vets can't cope. The way America responds to situations, they always go to the worst ones, the ones who are like nearly dead. Those are the ones they respond to first, even though they take the most resources, and their chance of recovery is actually extremely low. And then they say, well, that's why we go to them, because they need the help. But that's how America deals with its homeless vets and even homeless people. They go to the ones with the most need first. And what it does is it puts all your resources towards those who might not actually recover because they're that far gone. And I know it sounds kind of heartless for me to say that, but that's the truth. It's like the ones who need the help that could recover, if you just gave them just a little tiny hand, just a lifting hand to help them out, and they would become back to normal and okay, they don't get any services. They're left to continue to deteriorate and get worse until the point where they start turning to drugs or doing crime, becoming violent. Then they get the services. That's how this country operates, which to me is messed up. It's like I understand the point of helping the weakest and stuff like that, but when you put 99% of your resources towards the weakest, but you don't help the ones who are borderline, you're helping less people than you would if you help the borderline people. I don't say ignore the weakest and stuff, but don't put all your resources towards the weakest. Put most of your resources towards the ones who are salvageable, the ones who can be brought back to society again, because then it's not a continual draw. It's you're helping the ones you can help, and the ones you can't really help, you're not going to be able to fully help them. You're trying to help them a little bit. But you already know that it's a lost. I guess I would have to say you're calling them a lost cause. Which it does make me sad to say that, but that's the reality. The reality is if you're so far gone, you're on meth, you're on drugs, you commit crimes, you do bad stuff. Maybe they can put you somewhere, but see, society doesn't have that where they put them somewhere and take care of them because they obviously cannot take care of themselves. But then the ones who need help, like those who are struggling a little bit financially right now with the housing crisis and everything else that's going on right now, the government won't help them. It won't help the ones who are borderline. Like if they just got a little boost, a little help, they won't become homeless. If the government had a little bit of a safety net so that the people who are on the edge, the borderline ones, they should be the ones that I think get rescued first. I know it seems weird. You're like, why help the ones who barely need the help? Because they only need a little bit of help. They can recover, and then they don't need any more help. So you don't have to keep sinking money into this thing. You help the ones who are the most salvageable first, not the other way around. And then those people become contributing members of society instead of on welfare, having to get food stamps and other stuff like that. You help those people, then you have more resources available to help the ones who have a greater need. If you think that's never going to fix the problem, and that to me is how this country operates. But that is a whole nother spiel, and I do believe that it's one of the reasons resources aren't available. You're putting resources, you have very limited resources, and you're putting them where they're not really going to impact. They're not going to impact the situation. It's like saying, we have a bunch of little leaks, but we're not going to fix, you're in a boat, okay? You're in a little rowboat. There's tiny little pits that are letting some water. I don't know what the solution is, other than trying to fix the ones you can, and then work your way up towards the bigger ones. But I guess for them, their analogy is, well, if we don't fix the big hole first, everybody sinks, which is true. But if you can't fix the big hole the way you're doing it, then everybody's sinking. Even the little ones that wouldn't have sunk before, you would have been able to save those people, but you didn't save them. You're letting them sink with the boat. Everyone's going to sink now, instead of just the one with the big hole. So, that's how I look at it. What else? I think that's about it. I didn't mean for this video to be kind of sad and depressing in some ways, but I hope you understand my reasoning and stuff on what's happening with me and this channel and why I'm potentially leaving. It's just, I sometimes feel like I don't mesh with the way things are being done here in America anymore. It's like I don't know if it's just me being traumatized or whatever, and not able to see things clearly, that everything indeed is great, that America is great again, that we are number one in the world and the most powerful, the most compassionate, the country that everybody looks up to, that we are American and we are proud, and other countries respect us, and we take care of one another. We love our fellow Americans. We are united. I don't see that. And maybe it's my brain is wrong. Maybe I'm the one that's messed up. That things are really good here, and I just don't see it. But I can't really do anything about that. Some people say get out there and vote, that you'll make the difference. Okay, and I do believe voting is an American right. It's something that was given only to Americans. But the big problem with it is this. When I look at the parties and even all the candidates and stuff involved, it's like rigged from the beginning. How the hell can you even make a difference when you're only given a choice of two people? And here's what's crazy about the choices that they give you, okay? They tell you, okay, vote for the one that's not the best for this country, but for the one that'll do the least amount of damage. This is your leader. This is the one you're going to put up as your leader of your country. And you're saying pick the lesser of two evils. When a nation, when a group of people decide that for their leader, they want someone that's the lesser of two evils, okay? What has happened? What is going on up here to the citizens? You don't want the one that will be the best for your country and for the world. You don't want to be the country that everybody looks up to, the one that guides other countries. You don't want to be the one that guides yourself and takes care of your people. You don't want to be the ones that other people look up to. You want the one that will do the least damage to your country as your leader. I'm just going to put things into perspective right now to show you how America has a lot of hypocrisy. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate on this. Mind you, I still think America is one of the best countries in the world, and I would defend it, but I'm having a hard time right now because defending it means going against Americans, because those are the people attacking it. So I'm like, okay. And you're like, what do you mean? Well, you can look at it two ways. Unless you're like totally in the dark, I know you probably are aware of all the protesting going on and rioting, and some of them are violent. And here's the thing about it, okay? And you can look at it both ways. I'm gonna try to show you both perspectives. People are rioting and basically destroying property and killing people, literally. And then on the response, you have other people attacking those rioters and protesters, if you want to call them that. I think there's a difference between the protesters and the rioters, okay? And on the one side, you have people trying to group the protesters with the rioters. There's a difference between the two, okay? Protesting means you don't agree with things, you don't agree with something, and you're making your voice heard. And that is an American right. That is in our Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. It's what I fought for as a soldier. It's what I put my life on the line for, was so that people could protest, that people could say, hey, you're breaking the law of the United States. You're breaking the rules. This is the rules that are written into our Constitution, our laws. You're breaking them. So, on the one hand, I agree with the protesters in the sense that the government itself is breaking a lot of laws. Just the fact that you can't even live on your own land. Like, let's say you went through all the proper laws, the proper channels, and you bought land out here in Melbourne in a neighborhood or something that you supposedly own. Matter of fact, it's gotten to the point where you paid it off completely. You owe nothing on it. So it is the title's completely yours. It doesn't even belong to a bank or anything. You pay all your city fees for water, for electricity, all the stuff that it requires for you to do to be law-abiding. Then you take your RV and you park it there in the driveway, okay? The law will come, not the law, the city ordinance, whatever, will come and fine you. They'll tell you got to get rid of that RV or boat or whatever. In Florida, okay, where people have boats, you're not allowed to park your boat in a lot of places in front of your house, even though you might own the house. You're not allowed. The city has an ordinance against having a boat in the front of your yard. Now, a lot of these cities allow you to park it in the back of your yard, so you can get around it that way. So you could potentially break down your fence and then drive your RV to the back of your yard. And you're like, well, that's working within the law. Yeah, but see, the thing is, you lost your right. You lost your freedom to your own land, if you want to call it land ownership, okay? Which we can go all the way to the Indians about that, or even before the Indians. You know, if you really want to talk about ownership, who really owns that land? And what does that little piece of paper really entail that you have that says you have the title to the land? And then if you say, well, I have the title, therefore I'm the legal owner, then why aren't you allowed to park your RV at the front of the yard? The title says you are a servant of the system and willing to comply with the government, whatever they set as their rules, their laws, or their ordinances and stuff. That's what that title means, really. And, you know, and when you don't comply, then you get in a fight with it and you complain. But the fact that you even have a title, you agreed to them already. The fact that you have a birth certificate, that's a numbering system. It's a catalog of which country owns you. Who owns you? You have a birth certificate. They call it a certificate, certifying you were born, and here's your ID number, your citizen number, or your you know, whatever it is. So by being born and being documented in modern society, you are a baby. You didn't even have any choice in this. If your parent documented your birth, then you are already owned by the country, because they have a numbering system or whatever they use to track you. You know, in America, most people were tracked by Social Security. Okay, but I think they did that because some people who came here, you know, were immigrants. See, America's kind of interesting because a lot of the original Americans were immigrants. Matter of fact, all of the American people were immigrants, including the Indians. The Native American Indians, they were immigrants too. But let's go back to when they actually had society set up with the government and stuff. They started issuing things, and then I think the whole thing with Social Security wasn't even born until Social Security was created. So those of you, you know, this is where we get a little bit political, but not really. We're just talking a little bit of history. I don't think people had Social Security numbers until I think the Social Security Administration was founded. And that was socialistic. Social Security and the whole idea of Medicaid, Social Security, that's all socialist government, guys. That's why it's called Social Security. You know, it has to do with socialism. So if you're anti-socialist, then you should be anti-Social Security. Because Social Security is founded on the premise of a socialistic government. You know, socialistic system. But I think that's when they issued Social Security numbers. Because obviously you wouldn't have Social Security numbers if you didn't have a Social Security Administration. And you didn't have a Social Security Administration until you formed that administration pretty much, what was that, World War II? At the end of World War II or around World War II? Because people were in turmoil and needed help. They didn't have money, you know, they were dying. They were not able to do anything. I think it was FDR, I don't know. I really need a history buff on this channel that can, you know, correct stuff. Because I'm just giving you Denoy's perspective based on what he knows, which might not be anything. So, just like Jon Snow, I know nothing. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt, but if you read, you can do security because everybody was about to become homeless and the government, even though the United States government isn't socialist, decided to take some socialistic ideals like Social Security, where the government cares for those who are weak, those who are broke, those who cannot take care of themselves, and help them survive. Okay, help them make it. And that's how they started the taxes and stuff for Social Security. That's why we pay taxes. It's for Social Security. So those of you who see Social Security as a handout, it would have started off originally as a handout. The government had to dig in its pockets to give money to people that it wasn't there. Okay. Then to fund it, they set up taxes that you have Social Security taxes that are supposed to help you when you're older or disabled or whatever and you cannot work. It's designed to help the weak, the ones who cannot take care of themselves. And that's what Social Security is. And, you know, that came about because the country needed it. People could not live without it. And nowadays, we're almost back cycle, except that there's a move to remove Social Security. The government is actually trying to redefine Social Security and say Social Security is a benefit. It's a benefit that the government is granting you. That's a lie. Social Security was derived from my income, from your income if you've been working. The government's not giving me free money. It was money that we put in while we were young and working. So if you're my age, in my age group where they're talking, right now, I'm pretty sure you're peeved, you're pissed. Because you, like me, worked 30, 40 years to put money into the system, Social Security, Medicaid, and all this other stuff. And they're trying to get rid of it now. Because they're saying, well, that's socialism. And not only is it socialism, it's a benefit that the government is just magically pulling money out and giving it to people. No, that's not what it is. It's money that the workers put in to build up a safety net so that when we need it, when we become disabled or unemployed, unemployment is another thing too, that people actually put in towards. The government wants to list all this stuff as a benefit, okay? That the government is just magically giving to people, but that's not the truth. Don't be so naive that you think the government just magically made money or whatever and gave it to you. The money you get from unemployment, is considered unemployment insurance. When you were working, you and the employer put money in towards that. It's part of your taxes. It's what goes in to protect you for when you lose your job and can't work or whatever. That's what it's supposed to be for. It's not just the government magically making money. Even the stimulus money that they're sending out, that they're holding up and stuff, that's your money. And they're borrowing that from future taxes and future Social Security revenue. They're borrowing it. Matter of fact, right now, even the older folks who are living right now, they're living on money that they didn't even put in, because what happened is people are living longer. I think I can go really into conspiracy theory on why coronavirus is being let run rampant, because it's killing older people. The older people are basically living longer than they intended for Social Security to carry them over. And the system's running out of money. The Social Security fund is running out faster than the number of people who are needing it, because people are living longer. But not only are they living longer, the cost of everything has become incredibly crazy in America. It's like, but see, it has to do with friends of the government, the people who are in government. They work out deals where if you get an aspirin in the hospital, I think it's $200 per pill or something like that. We're talking just a plain old aspirin. You could go to Walmart or whatever and buy a generic bottle of aspirin for like $1 or $2. But if you go to the hospital and they give you one aspirin or something, they can bill you for $200 or some crazy amount. And you're like, well, what does all this have to do? It has to do with Medicaid and all this program that you put money into taxes. You did not put $200 into Medicaid for a pill. I'm telling you. When they pulled out money from your work and stuff for Medicaid or Social Security, they did not pull out $200 per pill. They might have pulled out like $1 or something for pills. But then when you go to cash in on your benefit, if you want to call it that, okay, that you put money into, they charge you $200 when you only put in $1 or whatever, or less. They're overcharging you, and then they're like, well, you don't have the money, but Social Security as a whole does, or Medicaid or whatever, and they bill the Medicaid and stuff, and they pull all that money out to pay $200. You don't care, because you didn't come out of your pocket. But what it is you took the money from 200 other people who paid $1 each. And of course the money starts to dwindle, because you're using more than you're putting in. You're using 200 times more. And when that starts to happen, you're like, well, shit, we can't keep doing this forever. And there's less and less people working to pay for all these older people. The money's running out. What do we do? Well,
We can either abolish Social Security, the program, and say it's a big fat failure, or we can kill off all the older folks. Anyhow, with that said, I am going to sign out. Just something for you to think about. Take care, everybody.